Hello and welcome to The Marketplace with me, Luqman Hariz, a show where we search for the hidden gems of the Bursa Malaysia, the mid and small cap companies. Today on The Marketplace, we talk about a new platform of fundraising for our SMEs, the Leap Market. Small and medium enterprises, or SMEs, make up 97% of the companies in Malaysia. This significant share makes SMEs the key to unlocking the economy's growth potential. But funding our SMEs have always been the challenge. Throughout the years, many different types of funding have sprouted, from equity crowdfunding to P2P crowdfunding to the good old angel investors. Launched in July 2017, the leading entrepreneur accelerator platform, or Leap Market, has given SMEs unprecedented access to the country's capital market. Leap is a continuation of the SME Master Plan and is expected to be key in boosting the contribution of SMEs to the country's GDP growth moving forward. And joining me on the marketplace today is Datuk Biltan. He's Managing Director of M&A Securities. Datuk, welcome to the show.
My pleasure.
First of all, give us some background. Tell us, what is the Leap Market?
Well, the Leap Market is a platform that just launched by Bursa for the SME to raise funds. Now, I think that Bursa is very timely. As you can see, today we hear a lot about fintech, biotech, mobile applications, and all these companies have revolutionized the way of making business. But the biggest challenge for all these SMEs is to raise funds. And as you know, they can't approach a bank because traditionally banks need asset backing for them to do lending. So because of that, they have been approaching other platforms like private equity, venture capitalists, and recently, SC has launched crowdfunding and also P2P. But I believe Leap Market platform will be the best for this SME because of the added advantages. Like they are making use of the existing platform of Bursa Malaysia, and the shares are traded.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there are multiple avenues for fundraising for SMEs in this country. Some of the things that you mentioned is equity crowdfunding. We've got P2P platforms. So how is funding from the Leap Market different from all these other channels?
Now, the Leap Market is using Bursa Malaysia platform, which is very well established. And people are very familiar how the share is traded after that. So I believe that will attract more investors. And for Bursa Malaysia, traditionally they have been raising funds in the range of about, probably 50 million to billions for ACE and the mid market. So for the Leap Market, we are looking at raising about 5 to about 10 million per listing. Whereas for crowdfunding and P2P, they are looking at a smaller amount of fundraising, maybe in the vicinity of about 1 to 5 million.
And it is also, the Leap Market is also advisor-driven. What does this mean? And what are the benefits that the Leap Market has that comes from it being advisor-driven?
Well, advisor-driven means the advisor need to sponsor the companies. So what's the role of the advisor? The advisor here, they need to check on the suitabilities, the business potentials, and the viability of the business model. And at the same time, we are also responsible to put in place the corporate governance and internal controls for those companies that we are advised for listing.
And one of the most peculiar points regarding this Leap Market is that it's only restricted to sophisticated investors. In other words, it's actually wealthy investors. Why? And what had persuaded you to take this approach of only limiting it to sophisticated investors?
I would think it's because of the cost and also the time to raise the funds. Well, if you are not limited to sophisticated investors, then you have to issue prospectus, and that is actually very time-consuming and very costly. So if you limit it to just the sophisticated investors, then you can actually cut short the time and also the cost.
Do you think in any way you would impose funding limitations if you only limit it to sophisticated investors?
No, I don't think so, because sophisticated investors knows the risk and the potential of the investment that they are putting in.
Mm-hmm. What kind of companies or industries or sectors do you think would list on the lead market? What do you look for in candidates wanting to list in this market?
We will look for companies that have high growth potential, because I don't see the investors putting in the money upon listing, they are selling it out, or they are going to trade on the shares. They have to understand the business, they like the business. The time frame to invest in those candidates is about 2 to 3 years. So I would think that there's no limitations to those investors. And also, at the end of the day, I hope that the lead candidate can actually leap to A's and then so the main point.
Who actually vets these companies that want to list on the lead market, and what are the criteria that you look for companies who want to list on this market?
As I said, this must have high growth, good corporate governance, good business model that we can leverage on the technology. But not surprisingly, you also will find some agricultural company that want to go to the lead market, because they are also giving a very good return to the investor in a period of 2 to 3 years.
All right, we'll come back with Datuk Biltan, Managing Director of M&A Securities, to talk more about Bursa's new lead market. The marketplace will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the marketplace with me, Luqman Hariz. We've been speaking about a new platform to raise funds for our SMEs. It's called the Leap Market. That's LEAP Market. And joining me to talk about it more is Datuk Biltan, Managing Director of M&A Securities. Datuk, before the break, we mentioned that the Leap Market is only restricted to sophisticated investors.
That's right.
Define sophisticated investors.
Now, the term sophisticated investors is actually defined in the Schedule 6 and 7 of the Capital Market and Service Act. I don't want to go into details, but basically, these are the investors that have certain level of income, and at the combined, his or her spouse, they own up to a certain level of network, and these are defined as the sophisticated investors.
It's probably a bit premature because the lead market was just launched by the Prime Minister last month, in fact.
Yes.
But how has the feedback been so far?
Well, I think as a approved advisor, we are very, very excited. We have been receiving calls and interest almost on a daily basis. Till the day that's launched until now, I think every week we met about 2 to 3 potential candidates. And it's very, very interesting because you will never, without this platform, we have never know that certain of this business that came forward to us is actually very, very exciting.
Other fundraising avenues, crowdfunding, P2P, have their own set of challenges.
Yes, right.
What are the challenges faced by the lead market in raising funds for SMEs?
First of all, we must educate the investors. The investors must understand that the risks they are facing by investing into the lead market. And the horizon of investment must be longer, because this leap candidate take times to mature and to generate interesting profit. At the end of the day, the other challenges that the leap market will have after listing is the liquidity of the shares, because only sophisticated investors can buy the shares. So which means the liquidity is definitely less than the A's and the main market.
And a report, the most recent of which dated about July this year, I mean last month, said that around 11 SMEs have started to begin listing process onto the LEAP market.
Yes.
Has this figure increased, and what's your eventual target? How many SMEs do you want to list onto this market, at least for this year?
Well, our target is to list 4 for this year. And during the launching, the day of the launching, actually 11, you are right, 11 MOU were signed. But as far as I'm concerned, I think I can't speak on behalf of the rest of the advisor, but we are targeting to submit by, say, next month.
I want to zoom out a bit to a more macro level. How do you think this LEAP market can, as a whole, benefit the country's capital markets and also the country's economy in the long run?
Oh, it's definitely beneficial to the economy because previously, a viable business model, especially those that are using technology to drive the business, can never raise funds in this kind of magnitude. So, LEAP market have made the fundraising possible for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you won't be surprised we'll have our own companies like Malaysia, Uber, Malaysia, Facebook, or Amazon.
What's next for the LEAP market?
The next is to make sure that the fundraise is utilized in the manner that will generate good profits, and at the same time, because you are managed to raise it on the equity part, we hope that the sufficient debts can also be raised to match the equity.
All right. Thank you so much, Datuk Biltan, Managing Director of M&A Securities, to talk about a new platform in the Bursa Malaysia for our SMEs to raise funds, and that is the LEAP market. Thanks again for joining us. And that's it for this episode of The Marketplace. Send us all your feedback on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at 501 Awani. Don't forget to listen to this interview on your podcast. Simply search for Astro Awani or The Marketplace wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Luqman Hariz. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.